I'm Bea Gorman with TahoeChamber, standing here at the beautiful new Lakeview Commons Beach. TahoeChamber is a bi-state business organization. We represent over 650 businesses, and our board is known for its commitment and vision to planning for the future. And one of the ways that we do that is to draw on experts and resources in other communities. So today we're going to tell you a little bit about a Pathways to Prosperity trek that the Chamber took this last June of 2012.
Hi, I'm Claire Fortier, and I'm the mayor of South Lake Tahoe and a 20-year resident of this gorgeous lake that's behind me. Lake Tahoe is not just our home, but it's an international treasure. Its pristine beauty is renowned throughout the world. But Tahoe has its flaws and needs some changes. And it's for that reason that I went along on the Chamber track to find out how other communities are dealing with problems that Tahoe should be dealing with. Lake Tahoe is renowned as an iconic and pristine travel destination, drawing tourists from all over the world to share in this awesome beauty, in this place that we call the Jewel of the Sierra. But even jewels can have their flaws, and so too is the case within the Lake Tahoe Basin. Sadly, these flaws impact visitors and residents alike. Since 1997, Lake Tahoe has been in an economic decline, leaving us with 15% of the population in the Tahoe Basin has moved. Our outdated and underperforming motels and shabby strip malls need a revamp. We have an inadequate and crumbling infrastructure. We are basing so many of our decisions on outdated environmental initiatives that are no longer supported by science. And while the problems at Tahoe are many, and they are difficult, they are not impossible to solve.
The Pathways to Prosperity trek was a 3-day journey in search of ideas employed by other communities when faced with issues similar to those we face in Tahoe now and must begin to address. We looked at 3 areas while on our trek, the first being tourism and how to integrate stewardship into the tourism experience, and we looked at this in Monterey. We looked at transportation. How did communities create pedestrian-friendly main street centers? And that we saw in both Monterey and Livermore. And then our third item of interest was how do we take control of our destiny? How do we explain why the status quo is no longer acceptable to the state's and the basin's citizens? The trek's first focus area was on transportation challenges. Experts in Monterey openly shared their county-wide and collaborative pedestrian and bike-friendly system that has reduced reliance on the automobile significantly. What struck the group most in terms of environmental integration and tourism experiences was from an experience perspective, everywhere we went, they carried the theme of the Monterey Bay, wildlife and culture. Our hotel rooms, when we checked in, had otters on the beds. They had Zen gardens on the desk, both of which reinforced the reason we chose to come to Monterey as a visitor. We choose to go there to relax and to learn more about their natural environment.
What's the smart way to move forward so we get these great projects that have strong economic benefit? They don't bring in a whole bunch of new traffic, and we find a way to make the city so much more connected that when you're in the downtown, you can easily walk or ride your bike, into the waterfront area and back. And you can make those great connections. And transit works so well that it's part of the network. It's not something that's taking away from your street capacity. It's all these things, little things working together.
It's beautiful. I had actually researched a little bit on the internet before flying out here. We were vacationing in California, so we went to San Francisco and then Yosemite, and now we're spending a few days here. great maps of the area, and of course everybody's been very helpful, you know, to ask any questions.
We had to choose not to waste a really good recession, because nobody asks the question, you know, what's broken when everybody's making money? Or when you're coming out of a recession, people are trying to get their competitive edge back and they want to focus on their business, and they don't want to focus on, all right, what are we doing wrong? How do we improve? This is a recession is the right time to figure out where you're going to go in the long term. The sidewalk is one little piece. Is having a nice wide sidewalk that's beautiful important? Yeah, it's really critical. But at the same time you have those sidewalks, you have to have a traffic network that moves people through and gives you good access. The good access makes it easier to move around the downtown and get to the places you want to go. So I want my network to be so connected and so easy that it feels natural to just walk around. It feels natural to just walk down to the rec trail and walk down the waterfront. Our transit system, our BRT system now is branded so that it's fun. Every single layer has to be connected and it has to work great. If it doesn't work great, you haven't accomplished anything.
The Trek's next goal was to understand the best practices for achieving prosperity and integrating the environment into the visitor experience of Lake Tahoe. The most striking takeaway from Monterey regarding their economy was that each and every leader we met with was deeply engaged in the economic development process. They all regularly participate in their competitive clusters process. This is a similar process to the one recommended in the Lake Tahoe Basin Prosperity Plan that is beginning to take shape under the Tahoe Prosperity Center.
Livermore, California was the next stop on the Pathways to Prosperity trek. Here the trek participants met with a full team of community and city leaders to hear about their 40-year process to reclaim their downtown for citizens and visitors' enjoyment. They have truly created a charming small town feel that instantly appeals to young and old.
This was a 4-lane highway, and to me, kind of the brilliant thing that they did was when you looked at it as 4 lanes of highway, it looked huge. It was a cavern. So in order, you know, it's not like we could move the buildings closer together to create a better intimate streetscape. So by taking all of the landscape elements out into the street. So that's why you'll see the trellising, the trees. You're going to hear a lot of people worrying about parking. I mean, we're crazy enough to actually give up parking and during the spring and summer let the restaurants take over the front parking spots and create a dining area. And then when we get to October, when the holidays and the rainy season is going to start, we move all of that out and it goes back to parking. And that's been huge because, you know, the communities now, everybody loves to be outdoors. If you've got the weather for it, people want to eat outside. So our spring and summer, we capture that. What it ends up doing for the restaurants, which is great, is all of a sudden they've increased their table seating, some of them by almost 40% through spring and summer, and then, you know, they go back to their smaller sizes during the winter. So it's a great economic, you know, kind of extension for them. But again, we're seeing that the return on the investment of the community is not in a parking space holding a car with 2 people that are walking around. But if I can take that space and have 9 people dining and spending money in that spot, or 10 people, then you're getting a better return on that little piece of, you know, real estate.
But if you're really trying to create a downtown part of the community, a third place, a place that your community wants to come out and hang out, when you walk tonight, you'll actually bump into things we call pedestrians. And they're actually just walking around. And they're buying things, they're sitting in restaurants, all sorts of stuff like that. And if you're sort of thinking about it from if I don't have 14,000 trips or 28,000 trips or 32,000 trips, I'm never going to make a living. The answer is no. You need the dozens of people to come in and shop at your place. You don't need the thousands of people to drive past.
Before I was working on it, I grew up in this town, and I was kind of like a lot of the slow growthers that wanted the small town to stay, and I wasn't completely sold on the project. Working with the businesses down here during construction, things went really well, and I'm very pleasantly surprised at how it turned out and how it has worked for pedestrian access and keeping people down here. Our downtown has totally changed, and there's lots of activity down here, which there never was before. My granddaughter was one of the first ones in the fountain, and she's come down here every Friday, and me and my daughters come down here quite often now.
The final stop on the Pathways to Prosperity trek was Sacramento itself, the Capitol building as a matter of fact, where the group was able to meet with Senator Ted Gaines and Natural Resources Secretary John Laird. The team came prepared of an overview of where Tahoe is and where we want it to go.
You know, I have both the pleasure and the challenge of heading up what is a bi-state regional agency whose charge is to restore and protect that jewel that is Lake Tahoe and the entire watershed that supports Lake Tahoe. That restoration effort requires partnership, and that's what's represented at this table today, and it's a much deeper partnership than you see here. It's federal, it's 2 states, it's private sector, and it goes very deep.
Our interest in investing in the Vail organization has been very aggressive, and others, is that it's going to take a very strong public-private partnership to accomplish the goals that we have for Lake Tahoe, be they economic goals or environmental goals. You know, we're going to need private-public cooperation to get the environmental gains we want to see in the area and look and get some of the economic opportunities under our belt.
You know, as a private investing group, which we are as part of Vail Resorts, we've invested over tens of millions of dollars to upgrade the actual resorts to get them to the quality of the experience that we like them to be. But the challenge is, as be it our resorts are world class, when people get off the mountain, it's less than world class. And when we have to compete with the Utahs, the Colorados, and arguably Europe, for those folks who vote with their dollars about where they're going to take those precious dollars in a recession and a down economy and take the family, when they have to do comparisons, it's the whole picture.
For those who live here, as well as those who visit, working together, we can preserve Lake Tahoe's fragile environment, as well as create a prosperous community for us all.
The trek was just the start of a process to create a sustainable future for the Tahoe Basin. Sustainability that should provide for its local citizens as well as visitors while preserving the natural environment. The time to act is now. For more information, please visit TahoeChamber.org. If you would like to learn more about the decisions that are being made that will impact the basin's citizens and visitors today and tomorrow, I'd also encourage you to visit TahoeFuture.org. Thank you for your commitment to your community.